Yes,
This side.
as the title indicates, it is really a test tube. Abyei is a test tube for the Sudanese peace. I will try to start my talk, and I will be very brief, that the people at stake are two, the Masiri and the Dinga Ngok. The Masiri are offspring of a great tribe called Jehina in Saudi Arabia, and they trekked all the way until they came to Sudan. The Ngok Dinka are offspring of the Dinka people of the Nile called the river Kush. In the Bible, Nile is called Kush, and so the Kushite. And we happen to have been displaced from Khartoum area until we came where we are. In the 19th century, the Masiri found us there. The Masiri are offspring, they have their own cousins in Sudan. And while the other cousins remain genuinely Arab and white, like Zebedia, Rashida, Shukriya, and Kawala, Hawawir. By the way, learning is a slow process, and I would like to remind you to refresh in your minds. These people have settled, they don't quarrel anybody. But the Masiri of the Darfur and Kordofan are the problem, which is now the topic we are talking. So, having said that, the Masiri came during the 18th century, during the Mahdi War. They divided up. One faction led by Ali Jula went and joined the Mahdi. One faction led by Azoza came and were accommodated by the Ngok Dinka. So we are victim of good intentions, of having welcomed them. Now, let me come to the transfer of Abyei. There was nothing called Abyei. Abyei, Sudan was divided into Darat, Darfur, Dar Kababish, Dar Masiriya, Dar Dinka, Dar Zande. There was nothing called Abyei until 1972, when Addis Ababa Agreement was being signed. Dr. Francis Deng, whose relations between his father and Abonimir wanted to create something called dynamic of identifications, that the Masiriya and the Dinka, who have now generally become almost black, not like their cousins, should be put together. And if the two Masiri and Dinka can live together, Sudan will be a microcosm, a little a link between the Middle East and Africa. So that good intention was embodied in Article 3.3 of the Addis Ababa Agreement, which was later on, Dr. Francis went further. He wrote a book called The Dynamics of Identification, The Seed of Redemption, and also War of Visions, which is a big volume. These books have not been used by the Sudanese scholars in order to rescue the Sudan. So what happened was that there was nothing called Abyei. It was called Dar Dinka, like the rest of the Sudanese. So what happened in 1905? Sudan was divided into 6 provinces. And the Dinka Ngok became a part of Bahr al-Ghazal, which was an extension of Kordofan, of Equatoria. But then an accident happened. Ali Jul, after they were defeated in Omdurman by Wingate, rushed to the area, and we started practicing slave trade. So in 1902, he managed to capture 15 men in northern Bahr al-Ghazal. They had the chief of the area called Rihan Gorkwe could not go to Awil. There was no government there. There was no government of Boreal. There was nothing except in Wow. So he trekked up all the way to Fashoda, where he found an Englishman. There was a district commissioner. He was taken to Sir Wingate. Sir Wingate invited Mr. Swainey, who was the acting governor of Wow, and Mr. Connolly from Kordofan. They were brought to Khartoum. Hey, there are people still selling, practicing slave trade. What do we do? Invoices were sent. There was no way of the governor of Wow to reach people of Ngok Dinka, the 9 chiefdoms. Mr. Connolly, the governor of Kordofan, managed to send a Lieutenant Colonel, Mr. Bolden, who went to the area And then he found that there was assets from Khartoum, from Kordofan. So the slave dealers and the slave victims were put together under one administration until 1929, when our chiefs were asked to go back, but unfortunately they didn't, for one reason or another, which is not a part of this. Now, in 1951, a convention was made for internal settlement, where the 5 governors came, governor of Kordofan, governor of Darfur, governor of Equatoria. They came to Abyei, and it was decided that the Ngok should be annexed, retransferred from the palace or from Kordofan to Bahr al Ghazal. Unfortunately, events overtook. By 1953, there was Sudanization, and then the elections were held, and Sudan became self-governing, and Ngok Dinka were left to their fate. What happened immediately as soon as the Nyanya war began? We joined it because the Sudanese government could not listen to our request to be transferred back to where we belong. And so Anyanya fought until 72, we came to 83, and then SPLM war came up, in which the Ngok took the major initiative. The first Anyanya 2 was originated from Abyei, and they were the nucleus of SPLM, SPLA, and they are still there. So when Naivasha came, it was Dr. Francis again who was commissioned by Dankford to write a draft about the solution of Abyei because of his research of microcosm and a bridge, of making Abyei a bridge between the south and the north. He again drafted what became known as Abyei Protocol. This is where the name of the 9 Ngok Dinkas were just left, and we ended up with Abyei. But the area, the subject at issue is the transfer of the 9 Ngok chiefdoms back to where they belong. Because administratively, there is no way where you cannot transfer people who can be administered in an easy way. So that the protocol was signed, and that the Abyei Border Commission was formed, in which Ambassador Dediri was one of them. It was crafted, written, and when it was presented, that was a test to the CPA, to the presidency. And the presidency consisted of John Garang, Ali Usman, and Bashir. The 2 of them rejected immediately. Dr. John did not know, he was embarrassed, but he cooled down. Unfortunately, he went and died. So I don't know how he would have responded. So we started then to implement the CPA grudgingly until they came up with 4 options. Either they rejected because they have rejected the ABC report, they say they have to recall the experts to come and defend their positions. The second one was a political decision. The third option was to go for arbitration or to go to constitutional court. People went for arbitration. Ambassador Dediri was on the other side, I was on the other side. And it was agreed. A word was made, and people went home congratulating one another to implement the Abyei Protocol. Having come home, they had a second thought, and they pulled out of the protocol. Again, they went 2 years until it was passed to Parliament. And the Parliament has made an act to form Abyei Referendum Commission. Now the Abyei Commission was supposed to be headed by a Southern or a SPLM, whereas the Southern Sudan referendum chairmanship was to be headed by a National Congress. They refused. We produced 15 Sudanese of good temperament, really Sudanese statesmen. They refused. Until one of the fellows said, I don't know whether it was Dr. Ibrahim who said it, that they wanted angels or someone else. So we failed to find angels to head the Abyei protocol, Abyei referendum. So there we got stuck. I became a member of that team, so we went. Our team was headed by the Vice President of Southern Sudan, Dr. Riek Machar, who said, okay, now the act has been signed. Let us define who is going to be. And by the way, the sticking point here is who is a citizen who has the right to vote. Because Abyei is 50 miles. In theory, all people can come to it. But in practice, 50 miles to bring 1 million cows to that area is impractical. However, because of theories are part of science, we accept it to negotiate. So it was said that who is the protocol says the voter in the referendum are the citizens of the 9 Ngok chiefdoms and other Sudanese. This was inserted by Dr. Francis again because he loves the Masseria, although Masseria do not give them a chance to love them. So he said, and other Sudanese. If he said any Sudanese, it would have been easy to tackle. So we asked the National Congress the definition. They say the Masseria. We rejected the Masseria. They went back the second day, and they are very good, by the way, because dialogue is where they have destroyed the Sudan. Dialogue. You become patient until such patients become exhausted. They are people who cannot, unless I'm worried about the Sudan under them. Anyway, they came back, they left the Masseria, they said nomads. We said nomads because there are nomads from Barakzal, from Awil, from Unity State. It is impossible because there will be millions and will be an endless war. So they went back. They said farmers. Again, we rejected. Ya Jama. Farmers and nomads. They went back. In the end, we proposed that this is the area of Ngokdinka 50 miles across. And this is an area of the 9 chiefdoms. Any chiefdom knows who are the Arabs or other Sudanese staying with them. It was passed. Salagoch accepted it. And it was passed. And we thought that that was the end of the road. The next day, it was sent away again. So one began to think, is it because of vulnerability that we are vulnerable and the National Congress is behind the Masseria? Or is it, what do they want? Do they need really peace? And this is why I always refer to the hyena telling the animals that they become a vegetarian. So that the whole thing dragged on. It dragged on until this present day when the Ngok now are getting desperate. And you know what it means to be desperate. When we are within the United Republic, there are 2 things at stake, the external self-determination and internal. Internal, a village can move from one place to another. Like Bagher near Khartoum can decide to belong to Jazeera. It is not a quarrel. There is a quarrel. The quarrel has come with the oil. That is one point. The other point which I would like to stress is that in the Mulder area, it is not all the Masseria. Masseria are in Kordofan, they are in Darfur, they are in the Balloon, they are in Upper Nile. It is Aulad Kamil. We have 2 sections of Masseria. There is Falaita in Fula area where Dirdiri comes. It doesn't come from what we call Abyei now. And Ajaira. Ajaira are the direct relations with the Ngok people. So that they are the people whom we can talk to, not almost everybody. Now, the other point, which is supposed to be, is where do we go from here? In July, there will be no CPA. There will be no CPA. There will be no constitution. It will be a different situation. What will happen to Ngok people if suppose, as the Motaman Sultan is saying that National Congress says, they are not going to, they will resolve it before. Now, Secretary General of SPLM recently has mentioned that it is being held as hostage. They need to extract something out from the south. They are worried about the borders. They are worried about the oil. They are worried about Darfur and Kordofan and Blue Nile. So they want to see that, and for that the only people who will make the National Congress to survive are the SPLM. Unless they cooperate with SPLM, I don't know what will be the end of the road. Now let me come to another point. They come back to the settlement, the resolution. we must have what is called conflict resolution. Our partner, the National Congress, doesn't talk of conflict resolution. Human rights, they talk of war. This war must stop. It must stop. We must look at the people. They are Sudanese people, whether they live on both sides of the spectrum. At the end of the day, the people will come back to... now let me come back to offspring of Jaina. Jaina is the tribe where they originated from Saudi Arabia. It is between Riyadh and Kushab. They have been organized into integrated agricultural farm. Now they produce 45,000 milking cows, the Jaina of the Saudi Arabia. And they produce 1.5 million liters of milk. Why should the people of the Masiri be left at large, moving? And by the way, the Ngok Dinka have benefited from the displacement. We have not less than 15,000 graduates during these 20 years of war. They don't have. The people are just floating. Children are being born on the horses, on the donkeys, and all these kind of things. It must stop. If these Sudanese are to be rescued, they must be stopped, they must be settled. The Diri is an advocate, and he sees things in terms of being an advocate, defending, of course, the English say devil advocate. So I'm sorry. But I am a teacher, a murabbi, a teacher, and I really feel sympathy with the Masiri. They have to be settled. What about the new Halfa? The people were brought from old Halfa and they have been settled. They are very prosperous and they are happy. If you ask them today to go back, they will not. Now, the Masiri of Kordofan quarrel the Ngok, the Nuer, they quarrel the Zagawa, the Four. Where will they go next? Suppose we go to war and Ngok, the Mnuba, and the Four gang up together. What will happen? This is what we are trying to avoid. We must avoid by settling them, and there are two options in mind. We have a very nice fertile area between the two Niles where the Masiri can be settled, or alternatively between Abyei and Mujlet there is a wilderness of about 40 which we call the Gos. This area is quite enough. It is 40 miles. Although the Jaina in Saudi Arabia is 30 miles, we have 40 miles here. We can be able to settle the Masiri and they can prosper. Unfortunately, we have another problem with the Masiri. The same we were taken from Biwau, Baragzal to Kordofan because of slave trade. This thing has been continuing. And now there is an organization called SEWAC. And those researchers, you go to Khartoum, there is an organization called SEWAC for redeeming abducted children. And they are all from Ngok Dinka. We have 10,000 still to be retrieved. And we need them. 10,000 from SEWAC. This is one. Now, it is the same attitude, practice, where Ngok never attack the Masiri. Never. But the Masiri are the ones that attack. They are still being hunted by the unknown, moving, displacement. But time is coming where they have to be settled. So that the Masiri should be settled like their cousins in Saudi Arabia. Why not? They are Sudanese. They must benefit. Now, the National Congress used them as firewood to fit wars by proximity. And this is what is happening with the Janjaweed. They are Masiri for your information. The Janjaweed. Jinn on horseback. And they are being praised every day. They are called Farisin. You see, so that this super race mentality must come to an end. If not, it is not going to, it's going to destroy the remaining part of the Sudan. Our part of Sudan is secure, although we are still a part of the overall Sudan. So that those who are interested in trying to see that war doesn't break out again in the Sudan must convince the National Congress and the Masiri to stop the idea and accept the Abyei resolution. Two options, either Abyei to be restored back by presidential decree, which the SPLM has already agreed, and it is before the National Congress. Very beautiful document that we will make the soft borders between the north and the south. We will have to allow Masiri to graze their cattle deep into the south. But the Abyei area is only 50 miles across. How can you allow 1 million head of cattle to come to graze the Abyei Whereas the Abyei also, they have their cattle. And those who come from the south, they have their cattle. So this is a test. It is a test to the National Congress and to the Masiria that they should give us chance to love them. Thank you.